Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider TV. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris, and we're ready. Alabama is rolling. The Tide currently in first place in the SEC West and clinching, close to clinching the division championship after a huge win over LSU this past weekend, which leaves fans very hopeful about the Tide's chances, not just to make it to Atlanta to play in the SEC championship game in a few weeks, but to win the game, Rodney. The Crimson Tide completed its revenge tour, if you will. After losing to Tennessee and Knoxville last year, they took care of the Vols 2 weeks earlier, and then this past Saturday night took care of LSU 42-28. Jalen Milroe finished with 374 yards total offense, including an Alabama record 4 rushing touchdowns for a quarterback. The Tide is now 8-1, 6-0 in the SEC. Alabama racked up over 500 yards, including a season-high 288 yards on the ground. Of course, that was helped by the 155 yards by Jalen Milroe, but the running backs ran well too. Freshman Caleb Downs continues to shine on defense, 13 tackles, including 9 solos. And with his 6 extra points, Alabama kicker Will Riker became just the 4th college football player to surpass 500 points. He's the leading kicker all time in terms of scoring in the NCAA, but he did miss 2 field goals for the first time since the Tennessee game last year that he missed. Alabama now gets ready to go to Lexington. Don't overlook this game, folks. 11 a.m. kick in Lexington on Saturday morning on ESPN. And let me bring Rodney in here for his analysis. All right, just your takeaways. Let's begin with just consistent performance. Saban's always talking about consistency and performance. Fans have been saying if this team can put it together for 4 quarters. Well, I thought basically they did.
Probably. Yeah, again, I think Nick Saban even said it himself when he called it probably their most complete game. And I think that is it. I mean, they came out, they matched LSU in the first half. I mean, they were up 21-14. LSU scores late. Got a little dicey there, I think, in the early second half when LSU comes out and takes that lead, scoring on back-to-back drives at the end of the first half, the beginning of the second half. But the way Alabama responded on that next drive to tie the game, ran the football extremely well, made some plays. Jalen Milroe made some key plays in the drive, obviously had some key runs. And you know, Gary, we talked about it last week. I thought Milroe was going to have a big game. Now, I didn't think he was going to rush for 4 touchdowns, but I thought he would have a really, really big game in this one. And, you know, and another thing, I really have been talking about, pull the ball down and run, Jalen. When you have the opportunity to run, you need to run because your legs, you're very dynamic with the ball in your hand. So I think it's going to help him as a passer as well.
Yeah, I mean, 155 yards rushing, and that, you know, is net. If he hadn't had to take the sacks, of course, there weren't as many of them the other night, and that was good news, too. He would have had, I think, 167 or so. But the Alabama defense, obviously the offense hit on all cylinders. They've come a long way. But this defense has shown the ability to adjust in game. You know, LSU came out with Jaden Daniels, who I think might be as good a quarterback as there is in the country this year. And they score 21 first-half points, as you said, a touchdown right before the half. Then they get 7 to start the third quarter. They got 28 points with about 11:30 to go in the third quarter. They don't score again.
Yeah. Well, and the LSU people will refer to the hit, of course. But, you know, listen, I think, again, Alabama to have held them to 28 points to that point was really pretty good, actually. I thought Alabama played extremely well defensively. They got some stops. They got the turnover there with Terry and Arnold intercepting the ball. So I think to be able to hold this offense to, as you said, 28 points, and there's the hit. You might as well go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, Dallas Turner got a roughing the passer there, personal foul. LSU fans are just still irate. Listen, they were down 2 touchdowns at the time. The game, and then Will Riker later missed a field goal. I don't think they come back and win the game. I told you in the press box, we were disappointed, both of us, that he didn't come back in the game. But again, I'm not a rules official. I've seen hits like that. I saw Bryce Young take one right to the chest in Knoxville last year. They didn't even get a roughing the passer on. So it happens. What really is bothering me, Rodney, is that people are calling him quote unquote a dirty player, and they're going back and doing all the screen saving stuff. To me, a dirty player implies that he premeditates that he wants to try to hurt someone. I don't see that from Dallas Turner at all, so I take exception to that.
You know, I thought it was a bam-bam play. I mean, it's what I would call a continuation play. I mean, how do you hold up in that situation? I thought it was so snap, You know, I mean, it's almost impossible for him to stop at that point. Now, if you want to say it was targeting, maybe, I don't know. They ruled that it wasn't. They reviewed it, so obviously it wasn't. They got the personal foul. I don't really understand what the complaint is because I'm with you. I mean, when you see a play like that, I never think a play like that is an intentionally dirty play. I don't think it was flagrantly late. You know, was it what they consider late now? Maybe. But at the same time, you mentioned it. I thought Bryce Young took more flagrant shots last year at Tennessee.
One final thought on Milroe. You know, people have been saying, well, he needs to pass better when he was running early in the season. Then when he started trying to stay in the pocket, they said, well, he needs to run more. I guess we saw the total package from him, what he's capable of with the run pass mix on Saturday night. That was pretty dynamic.
I think that's what he has to do. I mean, with his ability to be able to run the ball, and again, I know he wants to go through the progressions, and you do that, but when you step up and you don't have someone open or you don't find someone open, you have an opportunity to run the football. I think you've got to do it when you're here. You saw his legs made the difference. I mean, because you have to match LSU's points, and because of his legs, Alabama could match LSU.
All right, it's time for Coach Talk. And as we've been talking about, this was probably the most complete performance for Alabama this season in a game. But you got to remember, there's still football to be played. You can't get too relaxed. You've got to continue to go forward.
They got really good movement. The backs really pressed the holes and did a really good job. I think we had a really good plan to run the ball and get the ball in the perimeter some with Jalen, some with some other guys. And the combination of those things, I think, helps your inside running game as well. But it all came down to execution, and I thought this was the best execution we had from an efficiency standpoint in the run game, you know, all year. We've had 2 big games in a row here and still got 2 SEC games left and another game. So you're going to make a choice about taking care of business or continue to take care of business in the future because we can create an opportunity for ourselves and maybe win the West and, you know, maybe get in the SEC championship game, and who knows what happens from there.
Indeed, Rod. And Alabama's had the chance since the Texas and South Florida games to kind of be an underdog some. That's gone now. People are going to expect them to win at Kentucky, going to expect them to win in a few weeks down at Auburn. But this is no gimme. When you go into Lexington, you got Ray Davis, that running back who's dynamic. They're 6-3. They overcame a little rough patch, held Mississippi State to 3 points last Saturday in Starkville. This is a football team. If you're not ready to go, you could be in trouble.
Let me tell you, Devin Leary, he hasn't had a great year. He's got 18 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions, thrown for about 1,900 yards. But you know what, Gary? 2 years ago at NC State, he threw for 35 touchdowns, only 5 picks. He's very capable as a passer. Again, they haven't totally got on the same page there, although he's averaging over 200 yards a game passing. They have some good receivers. I mean, Berrien Brown was a highly recruited player. Alabama recruited him extremely hard back in the day a couple of years ago. They've got some other ones, Tavion Robinson, Dane Key, and you mentioned Ray Davis. I mean, he lit Florida up. This guy has ability to run between the tackles. He's also got the speed to take it the distance. So Kentucky is capable, even though they haven't been great offensively, but you're going into their place. They have a really good physical defense. They get turnovers. They're one of the top turnover teams in the country in terms of producing those into touchdowns, Gary. They had a pick 6 that you saw earlier there against Mississippi State. So they're really good defensively.
Yeah, this is like a lot of series with Alabama. It's very lopsided. Kentucky's won very few and far between against the Tide, even though they don't play every year. In fact, Saban's 8-0 against Kentucky, 5-0 as head coach at Alabama. The last time they played in 2020, the COVID year, 63-3. But when you're Mark Stoops and you past Coach Bryant as the winningest coach in Kentucky football history, and you're a good team, this season could be made great. We know what it's like if you can knock off Alabama. We've seen it before. So they're going to be ready because this could take them from being having a pretty good season to a next level season.
You know, that way they start at 5-0, and then they lost the 3 straight. They lost to Georgia, Missouri, and who was the other one? They lost Tennessee. They lost those 3 games, then come back. Now they got back on the winning track last Saturday night against Mississippi State. But again, up there, an early morning game. You know, look, I think it's going to be a real tough game.
Yeah, and our predictions on the game coming up later on in the show. But coming up next on Tider Insider TV, Alabama basketball. Coach Oates has them rolling on the court and off. Another big-time recruit for the 2024 class. Plus, multiple players put up big numbers last night in Coleman Coliseum. More is on the way. TITV. And we'll get to your phone calls, emails, and social media reactions in just a little bit. You can call us with your Questions, as always, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Or email us at the address on your screen. This is the one, the only Tider Insider TV. We'll be right back after this.
Playing college basketball at the University of Alabama.
I like that. He got right to it. Welcome back to TITV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. Visit Tuscaloosa. Alongside Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Nate Oates is added to the 2024 recruiting class, as you just saw. Four-star small forward Naas Cunningham's commitment came just days after he completed his official visit to Tuscaloosa this past weekend. Of course, what a great weekend to be in with that football game. 6'7" forward, ranks as a top 50 player in the class of 2024. At one time, he was ranked number 1 in the class. He wound up playing for Overtime Elite in Atlanta, where he averaged 14.4 points and 5.3 rebounds, but he did not take any money for that. So that's why he still has his eligibility intact. Long, athletic, I mean, just your typical Alabama player. Can play more than one position. His commitment bumps Alabama up into the top 25 nationally. Rodney, this is we've seen it with Nick Saban. We're seeing it with Nate Oates. You come in here with energy. You come in here with excitement. You've got a plan, but you understand it's done through recruiting. That's how Saban built Alabama football. That's how Nate Oates is building Alabama basketball.
It's really incredible. It's really incredible, the kind of athletes that he's getting, Gary. You mentioned he's long. He's got the long arms. He can shoot the three. I mean, this guy, look at him run the floor. I mean, he's really good.
As I said, a guy who was once ranked number 1 in his class, playing for that Overtime Elite League, didn't seem to help him in terms of his ranking. But again, highly skilled, highly talented player. The future looks good for Alabama men's basketball. The current looks good for Alabama men's basketball. The Tide opening the season last night at home inside Coleman Coliseum, manhandling Morehead State, 105-73. Now, let me tell you something about Morehead State. That's a good program. Janai Broom, who plays at Auburn, transferred in from Morehead State. They won their league last year. They're predicted to win their league this year. But Grant Nelson, the North Dakota State transfer, he lived up to the hype. 24 points and 7 rebounds. Same thing for Aaron Estrada. You see Estrada there. He had 16 points, 2 new players from the transfer portal. Mark Sears, a returner, with 13. And Jaron Stevenson, the true freshman who was wearing number 15 and did remind me of Noah Clowney a little bit. He had 12. Crimson Tide goes to 1-0. And Brandon Miller was in the house. They'll take on Indiana State Friday night at 7 o'clock. Ronnie, it's just one game, but quick thoughts on Alabama starting fast in that game. They hit their first 7 shots. At one point, they were 8 of 12 from the three-point line. They shot over nearly 50% for the game from three-point range. This is a team deep, talented. No, Oates said some of these guys have to learn how to play defense, but there's a lot of potential. Look at that slam by Nelson.
I mean, yeah, you talk about the way he's kind of, Nate Oates is, kind of redone this roster with these kind of athletes, Gary. I mean, this is a really exciting-looking team. Again, I know it's early, and you mentioned Morehead State. All due respect, I mean, they're expected, as you said, to win their league. But this is going to be a really exciting team to watch.
Yeah, and the Alabama women last night played before the men, and they got it done, too, with a huge win, 93-39 over Alabama State. All 11 Crimson Tide players that played in the game scored. That's always good. Senior Sarah Ashley Barker had 23 points, a career high, and 8 rebounds. Boy, she's a hard worker. Jessica Timmons also had a career game, putting up 18 points against the Hornets, and Alabama will be back in action again on Friday. They'll play at 4:30 ahead of the men as they'll take on Winthrop on Friday afternoon. All right, as we said, Rod, they're not really doubleheaders. They are doubleheaders, but you have to come in for one game and get a ticket for both games if you're going to watch them both. But I kind of like this early in the year. Play the women, then play the men.
Yeah,
give the fans kind of give the fans a double opportunity to see both teams.
That's right.
It certainly helps the women because, you're going to have a bigger crowd with the men's game. So both teams looking good, and basketball is here. Hard to believe. Well, still to come on TITV, everybody's favorite segment, Bama in the NFL, is coming up next. And plus, we'll be getting to your phone calls, emails, and tweets. As always, there's the phone number, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. We'll be back with more Tider Insider TV. Let us hear from you next here on the program. Bama in the NFL, Commanders and the Patriots up in New England. Brian Robinson's having a solid year, man. Touchdown there for the Commanders. They beat the Pats. Mac Jones, though, with a nice throw here to former Arkansas tight end Hunter Henry. And then late in the game, Rodney, I want you to watch this. This is what's happened to Mac here. Juju Smith-Schuster, this is a chance to win the game. You got to catch that ball, man. that ball hit him in the hands. People blame Mac, but probably not a slow-mo replay. It hit him right in the hands. Patriots lose. Deshaun Watson to Amari Cooper. Look at that touchdown. Hey, it counts, right? Coop had over 100 yards of receptions and that touchdown, and then this one where he almost scored. I mean, he's been in the league now, Rodney, what, about 8 or 9 years? Yeah. He's still doing great. Cowboys in Philadelphia, all kinds of Bama guys there. Jalen Hurts playing with a banged-up knee, but still gets a touchdown there. And then Devontae Smith, you might want to – well, he did have good coverage. I was going to say maybe their coverage is good. That's just Devontae Smith doing his things as the Eagles get the win. All right, welcome back into the program. Gary Harris, Rodney Orr, time to take your phone calls. Let's go down to Demopolis and talk with Rusty. Hey, Rusty.
Hey there, buddy. How y'all doing?
Doing good, my friend.
Hey, good. It's been a while since I called in. We got our kicking situation, place kicker ironed out. All I got to say is Milroe. That guy is going to be something. I mean, something.
Well, Rusty, I don't disagree. Rodney Milroe is his, we knew he had the athletic ability. And again, I hate they lost to Texas. But when you look back now, that loss combined with him sitting out the South Florida game, it might have been the best thing that ever happened to him.
Yeah, again, the Texas thing it's just so early in the year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was, Milroe's a young starter. You've got young offensive linemen. Texas caught Alabama at a really good time, Rusty. But you know what? I agree with you. I mean, I think Jalen Milroe, with the way he ran the football on Saturday night against LSU, I mean, it just makes him that true dual threat player. And I think, you know what? I truly believe this. I think the way he ran the ball kind of helped him with his creativity, his improvisation. And I say that, the throw he made on that little wheel route to Jam Miller, the dump off to Jace McClellan, those were big plays in the game. And I think the confidence that he got running the football helps all of that.
Yeah, playing great. He needs to keep on playing great now. Like we said, work's still to be done. All right, let's get to our email, and it's the email question of the day brought to you by KDM Service Corporation. KDM Service Corporation, when it comes to heating and air conditioning, serving your family like our family. Not really a question from Bubba, it's more of a comment. I think we should start an annual Nick Saban Day celebration. He's done tons for the university and community. Bubba, he has, and, they've got stuff named after him here. Just like Coach Bryant, he's going to be remembered a long time after he's done coaching. Maybe a Nick Saban Day. Rodney, think there's about 12 Nick Saban days. Plus, I think there's a Nick Saban Day about every Saturday during the fall, don't you?
It really is.
But again, what he's done for the community, not just in terms of winning football games, but Nick's kids, the Habitat homes for the championships. I mean, he has not just been a football coach.
He's done it all. I mean, look at the enrollment since he took over. Became the head coach, and everybody around the country. I mean, it's a catchphrase everywhere. Roll Tide. It used to be that way. Now it's back that way again, obviously. And he's brought so much attention to the university in a positive way.
Yeah, thank you, Bubba. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television, Alabama soccer is going back to the NCAA Tournament for a third straight year. We'll tell you what they're seeded and who they play, and also more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, the phone number 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Go ahead and give us a call, Tider Insider Nation. We want to hear from you. On Monday, the Alabama soccer team gathered in the Bryant-Denny Stadium football recruiting room for the annual NCAA selection show. The 22nd-ranked Crimson Tide made it all the way to the Final Four last year, and this year Alabama's a 6th seed and will open up the NCAA tournament at home on Friday at 5 p.m. against Western Carolina. Boy, Wes Hart's built quite a program. Welcome back into the program with Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. Let's get back out on the phone lines. We're going to go to McCalla and talk to AJ. Hey, AJ.
Hey, how you doing, Gary?
Doing great.
Hey, I was trying to figure out what's happened to Emmanuel Henderson. I hadn't heard anything about him.
Yeah, AJ, we got the update for you, and I'll let Rodney chime in. Talented wide receiver, played running back in high school, gifted, got hurt, kind of got behind. He's still a young player. I think you're going to see him down the road. Number 24's got a lot of athletic ability, Rodney.
Yeah, like you said, he switched positions from high school. He's a 5-star running back coming out of Geneva County, and they got here. They moved him to wide receiver, so he's kind of learning that position. And then, as Gary mentioned, he got hurt. He had a little hip injury, set him out for a little while. He has played some on special teams, so but I think he certainly does has a good future.
Yeah, he's very talented. All right, let's get to an email question, and this is one we had a couple of weeks ago. Why isn't Justice Haynes playing? Lisa in Buford, Georgia. Listen, they got 3 really good backs in front of him. He's going to be fine, y'all. I know everybody, he's flashed his great talent, Rodney, but he's a true freshman. he's going to factor in big time in this program.
Yeah, they've got Jace. Jace has been around a while. Rodell Williams has been around a while. Both those guys have run really well over the course of the season. And then, of course, Jam Miller, too, number 26, did a nice job, has done a nice job. When he's gotten an opportunity, he's a year ahead of Justice. But I think Justice next year, I think he's going to be a real factor in this Alabama offense.
All right, thanks for the phone calls. Thanks for the emails. When we come back, it is prediction time. What are we going to pick? Well, you'll find out next. Second week of the college football playoff rankings tonight. Alabama hadn't moved a bit, Roddy. Still at number 8. Hey, man, just got to keep on winning, right?
Keep winning and hope a couple of teams lose in front of you.
Yeah, top 4 unchanged as well, with Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, and Florida State, Washington, Oregon, the first 2 out. All right, welcome back into the show. It is prediction time, and as always, Rodney, you lead us off. Alabama at Kentucky. How do you see it?
Look, I think this is a game that's a real challenge because you're coming off an emotional win here in Tuscaloosa, a night game against a prominent team, obviously LSU. So how does Alabama handle that? That's going to be interesting, going on the road in an early morning game there at Lexington. But look, I think Alabama's going to survive the game 28-17.
Yeah, Rodney, I think they're going to win it too. I just think they've come too far to get upset now. And in fact, maybe this is not a good thing. I'm really confident about this game. I think Alabama's better than Kentucky in every area. I think they're better on offense. I think they're better on defense. I think Kentucky's got some dynamic returners now, but I'd give Alabama the edge. And I think the defense is ready to make a statement. I don't know that Kentucky can throw the ball well enough, even with their run game with Ray Davis. I think Alabama shuts them down and wins it big, 31-13.
There you go.
So we'll find out. Remember, that's the 11 a.m. kickoff in Lexington. All right, that's going to do it for Tider Insider TV, presented by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. Visit Tuscaloosa. Don't forget, if you missed any of tonight's show, you can catch the replay at 10:30, or you can find it online anytime at WVUA23.com. We're going to leave you a video of the football team entering Bryant-Denny Stadium before one of the loudest games ever in Tuscaloosa. In fact, they broke the noise record on that interception by Terry and Arnold. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Good night, everybody. Roll Tide.